The town of Plainville. Established in 1721 at the geographical center of Connecticut.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our town council meeting. Tonight is Monday, May 7th, 2018, 7 p.m. If you'll please stand for the pledge, and Councilman Cox will lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We do not have any presentations tonight, so we're going to go right next to the public hearing. We have two different items on our public hearing section, and I will ask our town clerk to please read that for us.
Notice is hereby given that the Plainville Town Council will hold a public hearing on Monday, May 7th, 2018, at 7 p.m. in the Municipal Center to consider proposals for the 2018 Neighborhood Assistance Act and a proposed ordinance entitled Ordinance Appropriating $2,100,000 for the acquisition of 2 fire trucks and authorizing the issue of bonds and notes in the same amount to finance the appropriation. A copy of the proposed ordinance is on file and available for public inspection during normal business hours in the office of the town clerk, in the Plainville Municipal Center, 1 Central Square, and at the Plainville Library, 56 East Main Street in Plainville. Dated at Plainville, Connecticut, this 3rd day of May.
Thank you. We'll take comment on the first public hearing regarding the 2018 Neighborhood Assistance Act proposals. Mr. Lee, would you just give us a brief background as to what these are, and so people can understand why we're public hearing tonight?
Yes, nonprofit organizations can apply to be part of the Neighborhood Assistance Act, which is a state-run program whereby businesses that donate to these organizations would actually get a tax credit from the state. And in order for these nonprofits to qualify for the program, they first have to be vetted or approved by the town in which they provide those services. We've received 3 applications for the Neighborhood Assistance Act. The first one is from the Congregational Church in Plainville. They have some energy efficiency initiative that they want to continue to do at their building. They've had at the church. They've done this for several years. We have 2 applications from the Prudence Crandall Center. Although they're located in New Britain, they do services or provide services in Plainville as well. One is for their annual appeal, and the other one is for some energy efficiency improvements to their building in New Britain as well. So those are the 3 applications to be considered this evening, which involve 2 nonprofits.
Thank you. We'll take a comment on the first item, which is the 2018 Neighborhood Assistance Act proposal. Does anybody wish to speak on this public hearing? If you do, please come to either podium and state your name and address. Does anybody wish to speak on it? Candace?
I'm Candace Hall, 113 Shuttle Meadow Road. I don't think I understand the purpose of our approving or authorizing or voting or whatever on a Neighborhood Assistance Act. What does that really mean? Do we have to spend anything?
No, we don't. These entities are in our community, as Mr. Lee said, and these are grants that are administered through the state of Connecticut, but they have to confirm that these are actual approved recipients of these monies in our town.
So we're approving recipients who don't live in Plainville, who aren't in Plainville, like the Prudence Crandall?
They have programs that are run in Plainville. They have programs, as the town manager said.
Right, but
there are
they're-
programs in Plainville, so they're allowed to apply for this assistance through Plainville's, organization.
That's for Plainville businesses that they want to donate. They would get a tax credit from the state.
But they wouldn't get a tax credit from the town.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Does anybody else wish to speak to the first public hearing? Anybody else? Okay, thank you. We will close that one and move on to the second one. Number 2 is an ordinance entitled appropriating $2,100,000 for the acquisition of 2 fire trucks and authorizing the issue of bonds and notes in the same amount to finance the appropriation. I don't know that this needs any additional information, but I'll be happy to give you a very thumbnail sketch of what's happening. Our fire company has aging equipment. One of the pumpers is approaching a 30-plus life year span, needs to be replaced. The other piece of equipment is the tower that is approaching its end of life, although it's still useful, and we're incorporating that piece of equipment into this public hearing as well, because we believe the best way to finance these expensive pieces of equipment now is to issue bonds and go out and borrow the money. So if this happens, we'll be having a public vote in June to approve the issuance of the bonding for these 2 trucks. So I'll open it up to the public. If anybody wishes to speak to that public hearing, please come to any podium, state your name and address, please.
Good evening, Patrick Kilby, 12 Pershing Drive, Plainville. Members of the town council, I see we're a few members short tonight. Town staff, and to the members of the fire department, the men and women here of Plainville volunteer, we thank you for your service, and to members of the public that are here tonight, thank you for coming out and supporting of our fire department. I urge all of you on the council to set the referendum for the $2.1 million for our apparatus. I come from a family of firefighters. Most recently, my grandfather, who's retired from the city of Bristol as a lieutenant over 22 years. And our apparatus are very vital pieces of equipment. These men and women are very brave individuals who run toward a disaster, and we have a lot of things that could possibly happen here in our community. We do have an airport, I'd like to remind you all, and we have had several planes that have crashed here in the past here in town. We also have a highway, a major highway that runs through our community, I-84. I believe the apparatus that we have currently is beyond its lifespan. Most recently, the tower truck has been out of service for, I believe, over 3 months, and that's unacceptable as far as I'm concerned, to have a piece of equipment that's out of service that we can't provide to individuals, to business owners, to people who utilize our community is just unacceptable. And I stand in support, and I hope that all of you will put this down for the referendum. And I also urge the members of the public that are here this evening and those that aren't here this evening to please show up and actually support these brave men and women, so that way we can get them the apparatus that they do. Excuse me, we can get them the apparatus that they do need, so that way they can perform their job protecting and serving all of us here in the town of Plainville. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Does anybody else wish to speak to the public hearing? Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mark Swanson, 78 Metacomet Road, Plainville. My question is whether the trucks have been inspected by a certified mechanic? Yes or no?
The existing equipment?
The existing equipment that we're contemplating replacement of, if
Sure.
they've been inspected, and what were the results of the inspection?
And I will, if I may, defer to a member of our fire company that can answer that more intelligently than I certainly can. So Chief, do you want to respond up here at the podium so
Sure.
we can get it on tape, please?
I'll go to the other podium, how's that? If you have more questions.
Thank you. Yeah, I do.
All right.
Two
Okay.
more.
I'm Kevin Toner, 59 Julie Road here in Plainville. I am the chief of the fire department. Yes, we have our trucks inspected twice annually, actually. Once we have a certified DOT inspection done on all the apparatus, and then we have a certified pump company and fire truck company come through, and they test the pumps, they test the relief valves, they test everything, fire pump and fire apparatus on those vehicles every year. So we do have everything going through. The engine that we're looking to replace did actually, it didn't pass pump test the first time through this year because it's wearing out.
Okay. Are these repairable items?
The pump in that truck is it's got a lot of OEM parts in it. It's a Hale pump, but it's an American LaFrance package. So Hale used to make parts just for that particular pump. And now that American LaFrance went out of business, it's virtually impossible to get the parts for it. I can't get mechanics that actually want to open the pump up to repair it because they're afraid once I open it up, it'll never go back together.
Okay, that's on one truck. How about the other one?
The aerial apparatus, they're only going to certify it out so many years. We're going to hit that time span in the next couple of years because of the nature of it being up in the air all the time and all the torque and just the stresses that are put on the chassis and on the truck itself. That's got to get replaced. We're supposed to do it on a 20-year basis. We push them out to 25 years because we don't abuse our vehicles, and we do have them looked at very frequently, and we have them maintained properly.
It would seem that just about anything is repairable.
It comes a point where you can't repair it. The insurance companies won't recognize it because of the liability that comes in being 102 feet in the air with something that could fail on you. You know, once you get out 25 or 30 years, it's served its time.
And what are the ages of the two vehicles that we're talking about?
The pumper is going to have its 30th birthday before we get it replaced in our firehouse. And the tower will be at 26 years by the time we get 26 or 27 years by the time we get it replaced.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thank you. Thanks, Chief.
Sure.
Does anybody else wish to speak to the public hearing? Yes.
Hi, Marguerite Burris, 2 Mountain View Drive in Plainville. I came here tonight to support the firefighters. I'm not one who's an advocate of raising, taxes in town or whatever, but for public safety's sake, and especially if these items are so old now, I would rather see us purchase and make sure that we have safe equipment, that if we had a fire here or, God forbid, an accident on the highway or another one where a plane came down, that we had adequate equipment. That's to take care of all the residents of Plainville and especially to take care of the people that have to work with that equipment. I didn't realize the age, but I do think that it's something in public safety that we need to take care of. So I'm voting in favor of it. Thank you.
Thanks, Marge. Does anybody else wish to speak to the public hearing? Yes.
Catherine LaBella, 50 Pierce Street. Essentially, I believe that this is critical equipment for the town, and given the information that we've heard at the last couple of meetings, this equipment needs to be replaced. My question really has to do with what happens if the referendum does not pass. Is there a contingency plan?
There is.
And would you explain that to us?
Sure. That was a concern of the fire company as well as the town council. We are confident it will pass. We believe people understand the necessity for public safety and supplying the firefighters with the correct equipment. However, if it does not pass, this council has agreed to reconvene and figure out a way at least to fund the pumper immediately. So we will be doing that if it doesn't pass.
Thank you.
Okay. Does anybody else wish to speak? Mr. Frangos?
Lou Frangos, 10 Fairbanks Street. If I could ask the chief, Chair, The pumper, I think you said is 30 years?
Yes.
Okay, and the tower truck is 26 years?
Yeah, I think it's.
Okay. Just, I want to make sure that was clear. Well, my concern is, the main reason I'm up here is the safety of not only the volunteer fire department and the residents they take care of. I don't want to get this thing into melodramatic, but I understand people with costs. We're not buying a mechanized blackboard or some other thing. We're talking about people, things that save people's lives. And that's what I find very, very important. From a personal standpoint, especially at my age, I would say the volunteer fire department here, 7/8 of them don't even know who I am. All right? They say this is old man that comes up to the podium and complains. All right? But these same people that don't know me, that if there was a fire in my house, I was in that house, they would do everything in their power to come get me. And that kind of wins my side of the story. And so my hopes with this group is these gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, get what they deserve. Please. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else wish to speak to the public hearing? Anyone else? Last time. Oh, Joanne.
Yeah, last time, Anna. Joanne Edmond, 166 West Main Street. I'm just going to make a comparison here tonight. I'm going to be a pain in the side, like what I have. And I'm going to say, okay, here's $2 million that it's going to be bonded for the trucks. Needed. Whether it's close and might go a few more years or what, needed. In comparison to the $2 million that's going to be bonded that you want, there's the word now, want, for the parking lot over at the high school. Oh, that really, as I've said before, rips my backside. I don't care if they park on dirt over there. That is an unnecessary amount of money that you're asking for from the state, which is what we're going to have to pay back. $2 million for that parking lot all around that stupid football field, that synthetic piece of crumb rubber crap over there. I'll never stop saying that. And a new ramp for the tennis court? Unbelievable. So, I mean, I don't know. This is kind of getting into my little budget speech, which I'm going to make later. So I'm just saying comparison. So, you know, there's quite a difference. Think about.
Thank you. Does anybody else wish to speak on the public hearing? Hi, Art. Oh.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Arthur Screen, 5 Cornell Street. I'm in full support of this referendum taking place and passing. I think the chief did an excellent job with the first gentleman who got up and asked a few questions and made the situation very clear. I think the way in which the town council is approaching this is in the best financial interest of the residents. It provides an opportunity to get 2 trucks, negotiate for 2 trucks, rather than paying a lease fee on 1 truck over many years. Buying 2 trucks outright and negotiating that is far better financially than trying to lease 1 truck at a time. These guys do a great job. We've had a few issues over the years with some water, but a curiosity probably for the chief to answer. I know in the past when we've replaced trucks, there's been interest in the old trucks from rural departments across the country. Is that still the case, and would these qualify?
We did actually look into that at a very high level view. The answer we got for our current pumper is dig a hole and bury it.
Right.
That was verbatim because of the OEM-only parts, you can't repair it anymore. It's getting to that age. I don't know what we'll be able to do with that truck.
Right.
The tower, we may be able to resell and recoup some of our funds out of that.
Fantastic.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thanks, Art.
Thank you. Does anybody else wish to speak to the public hearing? Anybody else? Last chance. Okay, I will close the public hearing. Thank you for your comments, they're much appreciated. All right, moving on to the rest of our agenda. I have a motion to approve the minutes of the April 16th meeting.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Motion to approve the minutes for the April 16, 2018 regular meeting.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Announcements and reports. Does anybody have anything to report tonight?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I have a report from the Capital Projects Building Committee. The last meeting was held on April 23rd. Castle Boost reported that on April 18th, Dr. Brummett received a letter from the state granting approval for Wheeler School to go out to bid. O&G reported the project came in under referendum budget but over budget for state reimbursement. Proposed meeting with the town manager, superintendent, O&G, Castle Boost, and chair of the Capital Projects Building Committee to review options before going out to bid. The meeting will be held on April 25th. In addition, invoices were approved for schematic design and bid documents, commission services, and phase 2 environmental site investigation, and the next meeting is tomorrow.
Oh, okay, great. Anybody else have anything to report?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Okay, I was able to go to the Quabbin River cleanup on Saturday morning. That was held by the Conservation Commission. There were about 15 volunteers. Collected a lot of stuff, very well organized event. Marge Burris, of course, is the chair of the Conservation Commission. We had some volunteers that were there for the first time. I think Mr. Albert, who's in the back row there, was a volunteer on Saturday morning, and it was a great group. People worked very well and very, very good event. You say successful, but when you're picking up trash that has had people left, I don't know if that's the correct word, but it was a very beneficial event.
Yeah, you wish that weren't the case where people felt it necessary to dump their debris into a waterway, but it's been going on for a long time, and they've been great about going in once a year and doing the best they can to clean it out.
That's
So
right, yeah.
many thanks to all that were involved.
And the fall will be the Quinnipiac, correct,
Yes.
Marge? Yeah.
Okay, great. Anything else from anybody? Okay. All right, we'll move on to our next item. We have some appointments tonight, and I have a motion, please.
Yes, Madam Chair. Motion to acknowledge the town manager's reappointments of Ezio Capozzi Jr., Benjamin Getteman, and Thomas Warnott to the Advisory, Recreation, and Park Board for the term ending May 1st, 2022.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any comments on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Are there any other appointments tonight?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Oh, not, it's not an appointment, it's a resignation though.
Oh, okay, you can do that. We're in that section, so.
Okay. Motion to accept with regret the resignation of Marie Cassidy from the Recycling and Solid Waste Committee.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? I would hope that we could send a letter of thanks to Marie. She has been on that, on the Recycling Commission for a very long time. She was a very active member. We could send a letter of appreciation and thanks. That would be nice. Okay. Any other comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Are there any others tonight? Okay. Town Attorney, good evening, how are you?
Good, very well, thank
Good.
you.
Do you have anything for us?
No report tonight.
Okay, thanks so much. All right. Next on the agenda is report of the town manager, Mr. Lee.
Yes, thank you. The first item I have is the fiscal year 17 audit presentation by Bloom Shapiro, Nicoletta McKee, and I'll let her introduce when she comes up. From Bloom Shapiro is here this evening to give a summary of the fiscal year 17 town audit. So I believe you received copies of it a little while ago. Unfortunately, we weren't able to schedule until this evening. So with that in mind,
Thank you.
I'll let Nicoletta take it away.
My name is Nicoletta McTighe, and I'm the partner in charge of the audit of the town of Plainville. I'm going to go very briefly, high level, through some financial results for June 30th, 2017. I recognize that a lot of time has passed since then, and then some required communication from us as auditors to those charged with governance, which is the town council. As part of the audit, we issue several reports. One of them is the comprehensive annual financial report. It's very, just by the name, it's very comprehensive and big report, but I'm going to go over a few financial highlights in that report. The report starts on page 1 with opinion, the auditor's opinion report. That's about a 3-page report, and the highlight from the report is that the opinion on the financial statements is a clean, unmodified opinion, so it's a clean opinion, the highest opinion that you can get on the financial statements. The financial statements are created following the government's statement for governmental accounting, and as part of that reporting, there are several methods of accounting that are reported here, but I'll go over as I go, I will explain them. Statements start on page 12 with the statement of net position, where the statement of net position ended with a total net position of $95.1 million, which was a decrease of $2.3 million in comparison with prior year. These are the activities of the town as a whole: general fund, special revenue funds, capital projects, internal service fund. The only funds that are not included here are the trust and agency funds. Again, these are very high-level financial statements prepared using accrual basis of accounting, where long-term assets, long-term liabilities are included there, such as debt for long-term liabilities, all your bonds outstanding, net pension liability, net OPEB obligation, or capital assets such as roads, buildings, and all other infrastructure is included there. On page 14 of the financials is the balance sheet for governmental funds. So this is more in line with what most of the time is being discussed here, where in this page you see presenting general fund, sewer operating, housing rehabilitation, airport operation, and capital projects, all reported here as major funds, and all the other funds that are smaller in nature are reported as one column under non-major governmental fund. The town ended the year with a total fund balance of $17.4 million, of which $10.8 million was in the general fund. Unassigned fund balance for the general fund was $9.6 million, which represents about 16.5% of the revenues in the general fund, and that is above the 5% limit amount per town policy, but it's a good percentage to be if you compare your town with other surrounding towns, and good level to be when it comes to go out for bonding to get our favorable results. The fund balance at year-end, as you can see on page 16 for general fund, represented a reduction of $107,000, so the fund balance went from $10.9 million down to $10.8 million. On page 18, the results of the internal service funds included in this column are the health insurance fund and the other insurance funds that the town operates. Net position for the insurance funds at year-end was a negative of $746,000. Which was a reduction of about $1 million from prior year, as you can see on page 19. The majority of that reduction comes from the health insurance plan, where negative change in that position was a result of the claims exceeding the money that went in the fund for the current year. On page 21 is the statement of net position for fiduciary funds. Included in the fiduciary funds are patient trust funds and the agency fund. Patient trust fund had a net position restricted for pension plan benefits of $27.6 million at year end, which was a $2.1 million increase in the current year. The increase was a result of the contributions and the investment income exceeding the benefits payment during the year by about $2.1 million. And on page 23, the notes to the financial statements this is a section of report where you'll find detail regarding numbers that were presented in the exhibits of the financial statements. They are consistent with prior year. The only new note in the current year is note regarding GASB 77, which is the tax abatement disclosure. And that new note will be found on page find the page now. On page 44. So the town, so basically these abatements are given for entities that have agreements with town for certain economic development in the town, so they get tax abatements. So the page here discloses the dollar amount of property tax that the town gave as abatement. So basically did not collect that tax. So there were three agreements, each one in a range of from $3,000 to $8,000 roughly that was given as tax abatement. So that was the only new disclosure in the current year comparison to prior year. Everything else was clear, consistent, and nothing of note for the current year. Starting on page 58 through pages 62 are the required supplementary information regarding to the budget information. The revenues for the town exceeded the budget by $21,000, while the expenditures were under budget by $751,000, as shown on page 62. So these are basically the only highlights I wanted to mention for the comprehensive annual financial report. In addition to the CAFR, we issue a federal single audit report and the state single audit report. So federal single audit is done following the uniform guidance as prescribed by the federal government. And in this report, I'm not sure if you have copies. So the federal single audit report, it will be one of the two green cover page reports. If you go to page 5, you'll see the total of the federal awards that the town spent for the fiscal year, which is about $2.3 million. And we audited as part of our audit, as shown on page 9, the special education cluster IDEA, which is $488,634. We did not have any finding as far as the federal awards go, so we did not have any material weaknesses or significant deficiencies, but we had a significant deficiency reported on the financial statements, which had to do with the bank reconciliation process, and basically with the Board of Education bank reconciliation that was not done monthly or timely. It is important for a town or for any business entity to prepare bank reconciliations monthly and timely, meaning either 2 or 3 weeks after the month end, the bank reconciliation should be prepared. But when we came here to do the audit, those bank reconciliations were not done on time. And what could happen is the errors might happen and they might not be caught on time until it's really late. The reason for that was the lack of appropriate level of staff, which delayed preparing the bank reconciliations. Eventually, the process were caught up, the bank reconciliation were done, and there were no issues, but they were not done on time. So we have responsibility to report on those deficiencies. Another report we issue is the state single audit report, very similar to the federal single audit report as far as the reports that we issue. And the summary of the results is again on page 9. We had no findings as far as the state financial assistance goes. We didn't have any material weaknesses or significant deficiency, and the same finding is reported here as required by the state of Connecticut, but this is not an additional finding, so I'm not going to go further on that finding that's listed on page 9. We, as part of the audit, on the state single audit, we chose for auditing open choice program, which was a $1.6 million program, and municipal purposes and projects, $542,000 program. So again, as far as the state financial assistance, we did not have any findings. Our opinion on compliance over financial assistance was clean or unmodified. Another report that we issue, as we are required by our statement of auditing standards, is in a page, like a 3-page report. That the first, bolded, is qualitative aspects of accounting practice line. So that report is kind of similar in the past. It goes over the management, over the accounting estimates that are included in the CAFR on the first report that I talked about. And there are several estimates that are included on that report, including a net pension liability, net post-employment benefit obligation, the estimate of the useful lives of governmental activities, capital assets, the estimate of allowance for doubtful accounts related to tax receivable, and the estimate of incurred but not reported liability regarding the claims, the health insurance claims. The management evaluated those estimates and approved them, and we looked at all those that evaluation, and we agreed with them. We did not have any difficulties performing our audit. During the audit, we proposed some journal entries, but none of them rose to the level of being material enough to be presented in front of you. Management booked those entries, so there were no uncorrected misstatements to be reported. We did not have any disagreements with management while we performed the audit, and the management signed the management representation letter dated January 25, 2018. We are not aware of the management consulting with other independent accountants, and as far as the very last section on the second page, other audit findings and issues, I talked about the significant deficiency over financial reporting, and there is another report that we issued, which is the management advisory comment. Those are comments repeated from the prior year. No new comments for the current year, and they both have to do with Town and Board of Education performing a fraud risk assessment and the fraud tip line. But there's nothing new there, it's just a repeat of the prior year comments. And basically the comment will stay there until Town does something about it, if Town Council and the management so chooses to do. So basically this was very high level of the audit results, and I don't know if there are any questions or not.
Thank you, Nicoletta. It's a lot of information, and you do a great job presenting it. And obviously, we're going to be looking at this a little bit more, but I appreciate your coming and explaining to us some of the aspects of what we should be paying attention to in terms of the town and its financial condition. Thank you. Does anybody have questions for Nicoletta? I didn't want you to just go away. Are you all set?
All set.
Okay, thanks again. All right. Back to Robert.
Yes, I have a couple of other items. Next one is the auditor appointment. Connecticut general statutes require municipalities to annually file with the Secretary of the Office of Policy and Management the name of the independent auditor designated to conduct the annual audit of its accounts. The deadline for filing, for us to file who will be our auditors for the current fiscal year, is May 31st, the end of this month. Town staff is recommending that Bloom Shapiro be reappointed as the town auditor for the year ending June 30th, 2018. There is an item under new business regarding this recommendation. Next item I have is the water pollution control phosphorus project update. Bids will be received for the treatment plant phosphorus project on May 17th at 2 p.m. here in the Municipal Center. Once the bids have been received, the town will make an application to the state of Connecticut for both the grant and loans portions of the project. The grant will cover 50% of the phosphorus improvements, and the loan will cover the local share at 2% interest rate over 20 years. There are 2 resolutions under new business that would authorize the town manager to enter into agreements for both the grant and the loan. Next item I have is the Robertson Airport apron rehabilitation bid. On April 13th, only 1 bid was submitted for the apron rehabilitation project at Robertson Airport. The bid was submitted by Tilcon Connecticut, Inc. of Plainville with a base bid of $516,043.75. There was also an alternate, which was bid at $176,626.10 for a total of $692,669.85. Design and inspection costs would add approximately $120,000 to the project costs. The total estimated cost of the project now stands at $636,043.75 and $812,669.85 respectively. The current grant authorization is $600,000. However, the FAA has suggested that there may be additional grant monies to pay for their share, which is 95% of the entire project. At this time, no action is being requested until the FAA confirms the grant amount, which could be 30 to 60 days out. We're hoping that it'll be in that time frame. They've given us some indication that that would be the case. It is planned that this project would be done over the summer months, so we would bring that back to the council for a recommendation at a future meeting. Next item I have is shared services with the city of Bristol, specifically as it relates to building inspections. Foster Zucchi, the building inspector, has notified the town that he plans to retire in early August. He has also expressed interest in continuing to work on a part-time basis for the town. This would be perhaps 2 days a week. I contacted some of our surrounding towns to see if they may be interested in providing some building inspection services to supplement Mr. Zucchi's possible part-time hours. Bristol has expressed interest in providing shared building inspection services. Mayor Zappo Sasu has proposed an hourly rate of $35.88. It is estimated that approximately 12 hours per week would be needed over a 3-day period, which if that was the case, it would be a total yearly cost of $22,400. Although an hourly rate has not been determined for Mr. Zucchi, if he were in the $30 range, the yearly cost would be for 2 days a week would be about $25,000. The total cost of building inspection service would be in the range of approximately $47,360. Currently, the budget for the building inspector's position for fiscal year 19 is approximately $80,000 plus benefits totaling $20,000. Although the details have not yet been finalized, but the plan is to begin working with Bristol staff beginning on July 1st. The mayor of Bristol has stated that Bristol would not charge Plainville for any shared services that they would provide in the month of July. I anticipate bringing a recommended contract with Bristol for building inspection services during the first meeting in June. This would be a 1-year contract. It would allow for either town to escape the 1 year if for some reason it wasn't working out partway through the year. Bristol has said that they would be very flexible in terms of, they provide us with 12 hours, but if we didn't need them on one day, they just tell them and they wouldn't come and they wouldn't charge us. If we needed them a little bit more on another day, then they would be willing to do that. So they've expressed a willingness to be very flexible. I think that they provide some specialized services. They have people who specialize in like plumbing, HVAC, electrical. So I think it's worthwhile attempting to see how this would work. Sometimes it can be very difficult finding a certified building inspector to work. There's not a lot of them walking around. Due to the relationship we have with the city of Bristol, I think it's a good opportunity to share services and maybe at the same time save some money as well. Next item I have is the state partnership health plan update. Town staff continues to move forward with having the town and Board of Education employees join the state partnership health plan beginning on July 1st. Several education sessions regarding the new plan have been held for town and board employees. We actually had some meetings today with the union leadership as well. Those meetings have been very positive. It should be noted that if the town stayed in the current Anthem self-insurance plan, the increase in the rates would have been around 70%. By joining the state plan, the increase would be cut approximately in half. There'll still be an increase, significant increase, but half of what we would have had if we stayed in the current plan. And you heard during the audit with regards to the deficit that was run as of June 30th of 17, and that deficit has continued to build, going forward. Next item I have is the school building projects update. The capital project, although Mr. Nazo gave a report earlier during his announcements, the Capital Projects Building Committee has authorized O&G Industries to advertise to bid for the Wheeler School project. O&G will release 15 separate bid packages for the work, and bids are due back on May 23rd at 2 p.m. The referendum authorized $23,515,000 for Wheeler. The current estimate for the project is $194,034. This is $320,000 less than the authorized amount. However, while the estimate is above the state grant eligible amount by an estimated $389,000, the net cost of Plainville is estimated to be below the original referendum grant estimate by over $800,000. And I provided you with the original information that was mailed to the citizens of Plainville before the referendum that estimated that the town's share would be $11,408,000. O&G is now currently estimating that the town's share, based upon their estimate, this is before the bids come in, to be $10,592,017. That's it, right around $800,000 less than what was anticipated as part of the original referendum vote. O&G explained that the potential savings from the original net cost to Plainville was due to conservative reimbursement estimates as part of the referendum calculations. Town staff continues to monitor the bond bill, which includes the Wheeler project. It is anticipated that this could be passed before the end of the legislative session on Wednesday at midnight. It's Senate Bill 184. Plainville's in that, included in that bond bill. It did come out of the Education Committee on a 34-0 vote. So there seems to be support for this bill, at least the education portion of it. Unanimously and for both sides of the aisle. Additionally, Plainville may be eligible for, and I used additional again, school building grant monies for the project due to the board's participation in the school choice program. There's some bonus percentages that could be coming our way as well. Town staff remains optimistic that the bond bill will be approved in time for the town council to authorize moving forward with the project over the summer months. Next item I have is the Plan of Conservation and Development request for proposals. The capital improvement plan includes $70,000 for updating the Plan of Conservation and Development. This plan is required by statute to be updated every 10 years. Earlier this year, the town issued a request for proposals, and there were 7 consultants that expressed interest in this work. A selection committee comprised of 1 Planning and Zoning Commission member and 2 town staff shortlisted 4 firms to be interviewed. One of those firms withdrew because of the unforeseen obligations, and the remaining 3 firms were interviewed by the selection committee. They recommended planometrics to assist with the preparation of the town's 2019 Plan of Conservation and Development update. The contract amount is $50,000. It should be noted that the last Plan of Conservation and Development update cost the town $125,000. To keep costs for this update as cost effective as possible, a good portion of the update will be provided utilizing existing town staff. There is an item under new business which would authorize engaging planometrics of Simsbury to assist in updating the Plan of Conservation and Development in the amount of $50,000. Next item I have is Buck Fever LLC offer donation of land. The Planning and Zoning Commission has made a favorable report and has determined that the acquisition of land offered by Buck Fever LLC adjacent to Norton Park is in conformance with the town's plan of conservation and development. There is an item under new business that would accept the parcel of land consisting of approximately 5.24 acres. It should be noted that this donation is contingent on crediting Buck Fever LLC for any open space requirements that their remaining land, should their remaining land be subdivided in the future. And that's not a given that it would be subdivided, that would just be in the case. If it was, this 5.24 acres would more than cover what their obligations would be anyhow, but they just wanted to make sure that that's with an understanding. They are donating this land at no cost to the town. There is an item under new business with regards to that offer. Next is the abandonment of a portion of Corporate Avenue. The Planning and Zoning Commission has made a favorable report and has determined that the abandonment of a portion of Corporate Avenue to accommodate the potential development of land owned by Metro Realty is in conformance with the town's plan of conservation and development. Metro Realty has requested that any abandonment of approximately 690 linear feet of road be effective as of December 31st, the end of this year, 2018. Metro Realty owns the land on either side of the road to be abandoned. There is an item under new business which would abandon the road effective December 31st, 2018. And I know that the president of Metro Realty, Jeff Sager, is here this evening, and with your permission, I'd like to have him step forward and perhaps expand a little bit on this. I know we've had some discussion at a previous meeting as well.
Madam Chairwoman, members of the Plainville Town Council, my assistant, Ben Tripp, my colleague, could he hand out a couple of brochures that depict a little bit of what I'm going to go over tonight very briefly. So we've owned the land in question for approximately 20 years. It's known as Farmington Valley Corporate Park. It's the land just east of Robertson Airport. About 12 years ago, the Aquifer Protection Regulation stops us from putting any manufacturing in there. And we've kind of been dead in the water, if you will, for a dozen years. But now with the advent of e-commerce, you all read about it with Amazon, etc. We're hoping for distribution. That type of a user is typically a larger user. So we're proposing a building that would consolidate parcels that we own on both sides of Corporate Avenue. So if you want to follow along, if you would, please. So on the second page, as you turn from the cover, that's a building we've owned for about 20 years. That's 10 Farmington Valley Drive. That's about 42,000 feet. And on the following page is a building that's under construction that we call Tech 2 on the north side of Northwest Drive. And on the page following that is our objective. What we're trying to do is put together a 20-acre contiguous parcel. So that's what would require the termination or the abandonment of part of the road. We gave the road to the town, I guess, right around 20 years ago. And we're also proposing to give the town about 34,000 square feet. The area of the road that would be discontinued would be about an acre. And then we would be dedicating about 3/4 of an acre for the purpose of constructing a new cul-de-sac in lieu of this connection. So if you go to the following page, you'll see Corporate Avenue, and you'll see how the road continues and kind of loops around, if you will, in a kidney shape. And that is why we need to abandon it, because as you can see, you can also see on the prior page how the road bifurcates the site, and we're trying to make it one continuous site. So to give you an image of what we ultimately foresee, or what we aspire to, is on the page marked Tech 3. So that's about a 300,000 square foot building. Again, it's going to be targeted for e-commerce. We are not talking to anybody specifically about this. This type of user tends to come from out of town. When they come to New England, they think that everything's going to be a problem. Plainville's a very friendly town, but they don't necessarily know that. My objective is to get the building in a position where it's shovel ready. So I'm trying to get as many of the hurdles out of the way as possible. And the town has been great. I've been working with Mr. Lee, Mark DeVoe, and we're in pretty good shape. But we're looking for a commitment. The reason that I'm dating it 12/31/2018, if I was to find somebody in advance of that, I'd be for you saying, can we possibly accelerate that date? I don't want to take the road out unnecessarily. It's possible that some other configuration that fits within the existing road structure is what we ultimately find. On the next page is just an alternate to the prior page, which is 2 buildings half the size, but again, would be an e-commerce type of a use. Probably most importantly in your mind is what our corporate neighbors think. So we know them well. We were the original developer of this site. We put all of these people in place. Some have changed, one has changed hands. But in any event, we've reached out. I've provided you with the address, the owner of the building, the contact that we met with, and the dates on which we met. And also I noted if there was any objection. So there was no objection. I do want to point out one thing though. A very important corporate tenant here in town, of course, is Connecticut Tool. So Connecticut Tool is what we're doing. If you flip back, I'm sorry to go back, I forgot to mention this, to the page that's labeled Tech 3. You'll see on the right side there's a curb cut to Northwest Drive that goes south and then ties into the Connecticut Tool property. So our intention there is to construct and maintain that for Connecticut Tool. We've met with them. We'll provide them with an easement. We'll also provide them with signage on Northwest Drive. And we will, in perpetuity, take care of the maintenance, repair, and replacement of that driveway. But that is to facilitate access that they would otherwise lose when this loop comes out of here. I met with Mike Greenwald, who runs that company locally, as recently as today. So, and that is a very dynamic company. They're part of the defense and aerospace supply chain that's so critical to the state. They're growing like crazy. I'm sure the town is as proud of them as we are. But in any event, he's perfectly content with that. And if we discontinue the road, in advance of any such discontinuation, we'd be constructing this alternative for him. And we can also talk to you, if you'd like, about what e-commerce is all about, but I'm sure you understand that. But I'd be happy to go through some of that. I attached that as notes. And that's all I had to say.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions? Things are changing in a good direction, so that's wonderful.
Yep.
Good to see that, Mr. Sager. I appreciate you putting this together for us. Any other questions down here about the plan? Okay, I guess we're all set. Thank you for coming tonight and putting this together for us.
Thank you for your time.
I appreciate that.
I will point out that as part of the planning and zoning process, this plan was also reviewed by the police department, the fire department, the fire marshal's office, and they had a chance to take a look at it, and they had no objections to the plan as well. So for anybody wondering about how it might impact response times and things like that, has been vetted as well.
Okay, thank you.
Moving on to the happenings, I have a few items to report on. Over at the Historical Society, they are hosting an event titled Connecticut Civilian Conservation Corps Camps. It's a history, memories, and legacy with author Marty Podskosh on Tuesday, May 15th at 7 p.m. at the Plainville Historic Center. Here, individuals will be able to learn about the Civilian Conservation Corps program that provided thousands of young men during the Great Depression with work. This was during the 1930s, including many here in Connecticut. The Plainville Youth Services, in partnership with the Plainville Coalition for Positive Youth Development, will be presenting a forum on the impact of substance abuse in our families, in our community on Wednesday, May 9th at 6:15 p.m. in the Plainville School Auditorium at 150 Northwest Drive. The forum panel, including Dr. Mohani Raganthan, Associate Professor of Psychiatry at Yale School of Medicine, will be present. Members will present an overview of some of the current substance abuse-related topics and a discussion featuring state and local community leaders, persons in recovery, family members, and more. Panel members will share their knowledge, expertise, and personal stories regarding substance abuse, addiction, and recovery. On to the Senior Center, they are offering The Changing Brain, sessions, which are held Wednesdays, May 9th, 16th, and 23rd at 6 p.m., and this will be taking place at the Plainville Library. These 3 free evening sessions will discuss brain health, memory loss, and types of dementia, professional intervention, caregiving, and self-care strategies. Please call the Senior Center to register. On Tuesday, May 15th at 10 a.m., they're offering an event called Supporting a Friend or Loved One with Cancer. Join a discussion about psychological or physical and social spiritual impact that cancer causes for patients and loved ones. Learn what to say and what not to say to the person with cancer, and this is sponsored by the Hartford Healthcare at Home. And on Thursday, May 17th at 10 a.m., they're having a Medicaid and Paying for Nursing Home Care event, and this will be presented by attorney Marilyn Denny of Greater Hartford Legal Aid. She will present this program and discuss who can apply for Medicaid income and asset limits, laws on transferring a home and other assets. Please call the Senior Center to register for that event as well. And then on Friday, May 18th at 11 a.m., they're having an event titled Inflammation and Nutrition. Inflammation in the body is associated with conditions including heart disease, diabetes, and arthritis. This free session will identify foods that help prevent and reduce inflammation effects. Moving on to the town clerk's office, June is dog licensing month. Owners are asked to check with their vets for updated rabies certificates and encouraged to make appointments before the end of May if necessary. Notices are being prepared May 15th and reminders will be sent out May 31st. For any questions, please contact the town clerk's office. And moving on to public works, bulk collection is in swing right now, and it'll run through June 25th. It will exclude Monday, May 28th due to Memorial Day, and then it will pick back up for the fall September 10th through October 29th. Eligible residents must call CWPM at 860-793-6721 to schedule a pickup. And when calling, you'll need to provide your name, address, phone number, and a complete description of the items to be collected. All calls placed by 3 p.m. on Friday can be scheduled for collection on Monday. And if there's a high volume of collection, they will continue their collection on Tuesday. Please note that the pickups need to be scheduled by the property owners. So for multifamily residents between 2 and 5 units, those must be scheduled by the property owners / landlords. This is for residents only, and we ask that you do place your items curbside no more than 24 hours before your scheduled pickup. Bulk items must not block or create a safety concern or hazard on the sidewalks or walkways. And last but not least, Family Fest will be taking place on Saturday, May 19th from 10:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. at Linden Street School. And they'll host a variety of activities and entertainment. And for more information on this event, please visit www.plainvillefamilyfest.net. And that's all I have to report on.
Thanks, Scott.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Robert. Does anybody have any questions or comments for Robert's presentation or Scott's information that he gave us tonight? There was a lot there. You all set? Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Moving on to a public comment section. During this portion of our meeting, we welcome the public to come to either podium. One opportunity, you'll be given 3 minutes to speak to the town council. I have a sign-up sheet here with some folks that have already spoken, so I'm not sure if that was for the public hearing. Are you all set, Marge?
Thank you.
And Patrick, you already spoke, are you?
Patrick Kilby, 12 Pershing Drive, Plainville. I'd like to commend the town for a job well done with the recent budget vote. The signage has been increased around town, and I know that I did travel around and saw a lot more signs that were added to all of the 4 corners of the town regarding the signage for the budget vote. So I'm glad to see that the calls have been answered finally on the signage for getting residents out to vote. With that being said, I would urge that more residents try to step up and actually attend the budget vote as well as the anticipated referendum votes moving forward. And I thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Also was Candace. Candace, did you have another comment?
I'm Candace Hall, 113 Shuttle Meadow Road, where once again the stop sign is completely invisible to motor vehicles. I strongly support the town of Plainville joining the partnership to 2.0 health insurance program for employees of the town and the Board of Education for both fiscal and moral reasons. In a small town such as Plainville, town employees and their families who are covered under the current plan who have major health issues do not have the luxury of anonymity available to workers in a larger city. With the current plan, it is often no secret whose health insurance claims, when paid, are increasing the deficit of the health insurance fund. I strongly feel that town employees are entitled to health care as appropriate, and the cost of any individual's care is none of my business. There appears to be some confusion about the new plan. During the April 16th public hearing, Chairperson Puglisi described it with, "It's not the state of Connecticut employee plan." She said later that they were talking to unionized employees to make sure they understood the plan and that they agreed to it. In an effort to provide clarification, I share information from the website of the Connecticut Partnership Plan 2.0. It is exactly the same point of service POS plan design offered to state employees providing in and out of network coverage. That's a quote. That is, it is the state of Connecticut employee plan. Regarding the necessity of union agreement, Town Manager Lee stated correctly that since it is a comparable plan, the contracts allow the town to move into it, and no agreement is needed by unions representing town employees. I hope this information is helpful in alleviating any confusion. As a courtesy, I printed out material from the website of the Connecticut Partnership Plan. I respectfully request that this full statement and the accompanying data be included as part of the public record along with the council meetings. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we just expand a little bit about this program, Mr. Lee, regarding the new plan that we're going into? We are not joining the CBAC plan, is that correct?
Yeah, it's the same benefits, but it's not the same group.
It's not the same.
The partnership plan is made up of municipalities who partner with the state for providing the same benefits that they're providing for the state workers, but it's not, we wouldn't be in the same group as the state workers, and I think that's what you meant when you stated that.
Okay, I apologize if I was unclear about that. It is not we are not with the state employees group.
We're not in their pool. No,
We're not in their
separate
pool?
Would be a separate pool. Same benefits, separate
I
pool.
understood from speaking to the person at the
Can you come up
office
here so we can hear you? I'm sorry, I can't hear, and we can get you on the record for that. Thank you.
I understood from speaking with the person at the Office of the State Controller it is the same plan.
But same plan, but separate pool of employees. So we wouldn't be with the same group of employees for determining rates.
I understood that all the state claims would be a part of this. I would have to speak with the representative of the state comptroller, but I thought he was very clear when he said all the claims of the state would be covered together, which would mean that because there's so many of them, our rates would go down.
Okay, we can, that's a detail that maybe we're not lining up on, but it is in our opinion, the town manager along with our other staff believe this is a good solution for the town of Plainville as opposed to the self-insurance fund, which we have been using for many, many years. So we will make sure we understand what we're joining. Thank you. Let me see who else. That's it. I will now open it up to anybody else that did not sign up that wishes to make a comment. Please raise your hand and come to the podium, and you'll be given 3 minutes to speak to the council. Does anybody else wish to speak to the council? John?
It's cold.
John Kislick, 65 Forestville Avenue. I didn't speak on the referendum question because that's a given. You know, it's going to go to referendum, and I'm in favor of it going out to referendum. Like I said before, I think that's the best way to pay for it. I want to make a comment about, just a personal opinion, new vehicles. Anything man-made, mechanical, can and will fail. It doesn't matter if it's brand new. So a brand new pumper can fail. And one other thing that I've been finding out, more gadgets, newfangled stuff that they're putting on these vehicles. There's a lot of times it's more problems. So I'd like to have the fire company watch for that stuff when they order this. Don't get something that might be a problem, or they've been having a problem with it for all kinds of new gadgets. The other thing, Mr. Screen took my question away, because I remember quite a few years ago, we had a piece of fire equipment, we sold it and got financial return. So I understand about the pumper, but on this other vehicle, if it sells, will that money go into the general fund? Mm-hmm. Okay.
It would.
And then one other thing, completely separate, on older vehicles in the town. I have a 1995 Ford van, 23 years old, and I'm keeping it going. And a couple months ago, I pulled in next to the roadways crew with their 1991 Suburban. And I said, your Suburban looks just as bad as my van. I mean, my van is beat up, but it's done a lot of work for me. And I guess that Suburban's still doing a lot of work for the guys. They said they're keeping it running, so they're saving us some money. Mm-hmm. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Does anybody else wish to speak to the council? Art?
Good evening again, Arthur Screen, 5 Cornell Street. Just a clarification, the budget audit that we got earlier this evening, that was for the 2016-17 fiscal year?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so to me that's new information that in 2016-17, our self-insurance fund also went over $2 million in claims over what was expected. But I don't recall any money transfers being made to cover that money.
We have made transfers into that fund periodically over the past several years. We have done that.
I know I've seen them this year, but I don't recall them last year. I might have missed them.
We have done it in the past in order to keep things moving.
So over the last 2 years, we've missed by $4 million on health insurance for the town of Plainville.
No. No, it's a little bit over 2 million. It's a separate fund. It doesn't, it was carrying in it. The general fund was carrying the health insurance fund, hoping that the claims would turn around. Since they haven't, we realized they haven't been turning around. That's why we've been making the additional appropriation. But the deficit is a little bit over $2 million at this point in time.
Okay, so the self-insurance fund runs differently than the budget fiscal season?
Yes, it's a separate fund.
My mistake.
The separate fund doesn't end on June 30th.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Sure.
Madam Chair, you've been here the longest on town council. Approximately how?
Yeah, it's been a while.
How, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to point that out, but leads into my question. How many years would you say we have been consistently appointing Bloom Shapiro as the town's auditor?
As long as I can remember. I don't recall when I first started if we had.
Well, there was Scully and Wolf back in the 90s, and then they switched it to Bloom Shapiro.
Okay.
So if you count Scully and Wolf, it's been a...
Scully and Wolf.
I would like to recommend that the town of Plainville, the town council, since you're looking at it tonight, look at the opportunity to appoint a different auditor, at least for 1 year. Mm-hmm. A different set of eyes on the town's finances in consideration of all the fiscal woes that communities across the state have found themselves in, who did the same thing we did in appointing the same auditor every year. A fresh set of eyes looking on the books may prevent us from having problems down the road. Thank you.
Understood. Thank you. Does anybody else wish to speak to the council? Yes, sir.
Dave Albert, Hollyberry Lane. The material deficiency with the bank recs that's a very serious accounting offense. And I'm just wondering what's being done to correct that.
I'm going to defer to the town manager.
They're being done on a monthly basis.
They're being done on a monthly basis.
Okay, all right. The town auditor, there's a concept of kind of consistency between year to year that auditors acquire over the length of time. And you might want to keep that in account also. I mean, he makes a good point. They've been here many years, and good set of eyes is good, but they know the history, and that's pretty valuable. As far as the insurance health plan, are we in a deficit for the budget that just got passed? Or?
Well, as we said, the health insurance fund is separate from our budget. It's a separate fund that we fund through a variety of ways.
Are we in a place where we're gonna have to, next year, before we get into this new plan, are we gonna continue running deficits?
We do have to make some more allocations to that fund before we completely terminate.
Do you have an
that.
estimate?
Is that right, Mr. Lee?
Yes.
Yeah.
It'll stop accumulating as of the switch over on July 1st, so we will have to make up the deficit as of June 30th.
Any idea how much that is, or?
Well, right now, we've appropriated $1.1 million to the fund. We were calculating somewhere around $2 million. It could be, it really depends on what our experience is over the next several months. Our experience was through the end of, we didn't get the end of March yet?
No, we have not.
Okay, so it was through the end of February. So if we have a couple of good months in March, that might shorten up. If it continues the way it has been, then it's gonna get a little deeper. But beginning July 1st, though, we're gonna be in a, our rates will be fully insured, and so that will stop, whatever positive or negative happens with regards to the utilization of the plan.
And who were the consultants that advised the town on this? Are we still using them?
On what? Advise us on what?
On how much the cost they thought was? I mean, there's severe overruns. I'm just wondering why. I mean,
this has been discussed at several council meetings, but the estimate of utilization or how much the claims would be is based upon past experiences. In the past, the town has had relatively good experience with regards to claims. It's unfortunate that beginning in March of last year, that turned around. It certainly was not indicative of past experience, and was primarily the result of several very large claims that in reality was not really predictable.
who helps the town with the estimates?
Anthem.
I guess that's my point. Anthem does?
Anthem Connecticut does the analysis.
All right. I wanted to say, thank the town manager for cutting some trees on the top of Hollyberry Lane. Very dangerous intersection. And I also couldn't leave without telling about an email I got from our friends at Valley Water, who are, through a revenue adjustment mechanism, are raising our rates by 4.76%. They're probably the worst water company in the state of Connecticut. Nobody drinks their water. Their effective tax rate is less than what they're charging us for the year. They've managed to increase their dividend rate, their treasury stock buyouts. They got a 40% tax cut, and they're still charging the town people more money for their lousy water. When people ask on Facebook, what's the one bad thing about the town of Plainville? The town water. And I'd like to say that Rose Moranti at the Pequaba cleanup, probably the toughest person sitting up there. She saw a snake, continued to clean up.
And I stayed.
But it's amazing what you find. I think I found 4 hypodermic needles, 1 million tons of styrofoam cups, 2 auto spare tires. The amount of junk is unbelievable. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else wish to speak tonight that has not already done so? Anybody else? No? Okay,
Yeah,
we'll close. Joanne?
I thought Lou was gonna go. Joanne Edmond, 166 West Main Street. We'll start with the prayer, which you don't do up there, and I noticed there's a little dissension, maybe there's a little dissension in paradise tonight. You've got a couple people missing.
No, they have
Very
other
interesting.
obligations. That's no indication of anything.
Very
of this.
interesting. Of course, I would notice that. Well, somebody else noticed it too. Back to prayer. Oh, dear God, our Heavenly Father, please grant our town council the wisdom, knowledge, strength, and courage to perform their elected duties and responsibilities to the citizens and charter of Plainville. Amen. And you know, I used to end up with Wake Up America. And there's an article in the hometown that is always saying that. Wake Up America, Wake Up Connecticut, and Wake Up Plainville. I was appalled at the fact that, again, there's only 5% that come out to vote. Apparently, people do not care about the money in their pockets. They don't care how much the town is spending. I thought it was a terrible budget. $1.5 million more of monies that the people are going to have to pay every year. And then next year, there's going to be another, what, $1.5 million on top of that. And then $1.5 million or maybe $2 million on top of that, because the way it's going is $2 million here, $2 million there, $2 million, you know. The millions are just flying out the window. It's like the madcap heiress. All dollars and no cents. You know, I mean, really, the town is run away with costing the taxpayers an awful lot of money. I just, I feel ashamed that people can't get off their duffs. And I try to stand up for the people of Plainville, and I'm sure that's the same people that come up here all the time are always trying to help the taxpayer. Because we provide the fuel that make the wheels turn. And I've said that before. I like to repeat myself. And it just gets to be too much money. And I think that apparently people just don't care how much their pockets are being gouged. But, you know, they don't care. I care. I don't like it. I think we could run this town on a lot less. It used to be run on a lot less, and it was a prettier town. It looks like awful now. This town looks like, I won't say the word.
Okay.
I will not say the word.
Okay.
It's got, with those awful bump outs, no parking downtown. It's awful. And the houses that have been fixed up have been, a lot of them have been desecrated. They've been bastardized, so to speak. I will use that word because it's a regular word. With remodeling, beautiful old colonials, remodeled to accommodate shoving in a lot of families. It's becoming a sanctuary town. There's another thing to think about. Just go over to Family Fest, you'll see them.
Does anybody else wish to speak to the council that has not spoken? Anybody else? Yes, sir.
David Spencer, 127 Milford Street Extension. If I was one of you 5, 7 on the town council, I think I'd be a bit embarrassed and ashamed that only 5% of the registered voters in this town came out to vote for or against the budgets for the town operating and the Board of Education. That's 1 out of every 20 registered voters showed up. It's even less that voted for them. So you're talking maybe 3.5, 3 3/4 of a people out of every 100 registered voters actually passed your 2 budgets. And that's pathetic. I mean, human apathy, I mean, I don't even know, are there people who are registered that never show up? When you had the Wheeler School referendum, you pull out all the stops to get people out there to vote for that. I don't know, Mr. Kilby says he saw signage. I didn't see one sign anywhere in the roads I drive in town. There wasn't there wasn't a sign out in front of the town hall until, what, 5 or 6 days before the election? I mean, how many people are busy? Not everybody's paying attention. People are raising families, people are working, people have problems, people need reminding. Berlin had 70%, and we get 5%? I mean, you can attribute some of it to apathy, and you can attribute some of it to people not being reminded, people not knowing, people missing it, waking up 3 days later and saying, oh yeah, I should have went out and voted one way or the other. I'm reading here a quote, a low voter turnout is an indication that the public accepts the budget we've presented. I mean, I would think if people who would accept the budget that we presented would show up and vote. I don't think a sign that people don't show up is a sign that they approve of a budget. I don't know what it is. I mean, I could say, well, maybe they didn't show up because they didn't approve of the budget. I mean, I thought this quote makes no sense at all. So I'm hoping a low voter turnout wasn't the intention of anybody involved, which would indicate people with a vested interest in having it passed would make the extra effort, and other people who don't have that vested interest might not. So, I'm hoping and pleading with you for future votes that somehow it's publicized a lot better than this one was. Thank you.
Frangos? Oh, did you want to come up?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I changed my mind. Lou Frangos, 10 Fairbank Street, and I'm doing this at risk of being beat up in the parking lot. But-
I feel that sometimes, but
But,
it's
you know,
okay.
and I say this respect to all the residents, but, you know, we just heard, what was it, Berlin, 70%, did I hear?
No, it was 17, it wasn't 7.
But no, but the point being here, Farmington was 9%. So that's a pretty darn low number there. I don't think this was exclusively the Plainville.
I think Berlin's budget failed also.
Well, but, okay. But I don't, and the only other thing I want to, just myself speaking, I can't see blaming the town council, the town manager, or anyone else about people not voting. If you have enough of an interest, or you're fiscally impacted by it, you're gonna come out to vote. And you're gonna find out when to vote. I don't see where it has to do with the governing body walking up and down the street saying, please vote. Okay? My bottom line to this, and this is the way it was brought up, the town is quite apparent, in my eyes, it's quite apparent, yes, money is being spent, but it's not impacting people's wallets. You know, it's almost a running parallel where we were talking about the dog park and volunteers for the dog park, and which I think is a joke. All right, but anyway, with that said, my point being is, I don't think enough people in the town of Plainville are being impacted financially. But I'd be willing to put money on the table. If this budget got totally out of control, you'd see a turnout like you never saw before.
Yeah.
And that's my personal opinion on it, and take it for what it's worth. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else wish to speak to the council? Has not spoken? Last chance. Okay, before I close, I just want to expand a little bit about the publicity of the budget. And we spent, I know it's not obvious to a lot of people, but every one of our work sessions that we spent on that budget was televised. Every single one of them. They were covered by the local newspapers. We did put signage out an appropriate number of days before the event. I believe that, and I will say it again, I have been on councils where budgets were resoundingly defeated because people thought we were spending too much money. And I have been on councils where it was a very close budget that passed. So to say that the council is at fault for not communicating enough or for not doing enough to get people out to those polls, there's, you know, perhaps we can do better. I'll agree we can do better, which I'm going to leave it with this thought. We have a referendum that if the council passes the motions in the next part of our meeting, we're going to have a referendum for the residents to approve the purchase of 2 fire engines. And believe me, I will do everything I can to write letters to the editor, to make sure people are aware of when that vote is going to take place, how important that is, and I will work very, very hard to get a turnout that we need to have to make that a reality. I will do that. And I'll do my best to get the word out. I think the fire company is doing everything they can to make people aware of it. And I know that the rest of my colleagues on the town council will also talk favorably about the referendum that's coming up to encourage people to come out and support that. So I'm not sure the council is at fault for the low turnout. I will stand by the fact I said to a reporter, maybe people are just happy with what we're doing. That's a possibility as well. We finished the council, we can talk later, we finished our public comments. Thank you for making them.
I'm not accusing you of
Okay.
anything.
Perhaps I
I don't
misunderstood
wanna be misunderstood.
your words. Perhaps I misunderstood your words. Joanne, we're going to move on,
And
okay?
I didn't accuse you
I
either.
didn't
I'm
say
mad
you
at the
did.
people of Plainville.
Okay.
Because we're fighting for them and they're not doing anything
right.
when it comes to budget time.
Moving on to new business. Yeah, okay. We have a number of motions to make here tonight, so may I have a motion for number 1, please?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
Motion to approve the following proposals for the 2018 Neighborhood Assistance Act. The Congregational Church of Plainville for Energy Efficiency Initiative Program, $150,000. Prudence Crandall Center Incorporated Annual Appeal Program, $150,000. And Prudence Crandall Center Incorporated Rose Hill Energy Conservation Program, $40,700.
Second.
A motion and a second. Are there any discussions on that motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Here, number 2.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Motion to adopt an ordinance entitled Ordinance Appropriating $2.1 million for the acquisition of 2 fire trucks and authorizing the issue of bonds and notes in the same amount to finance the appropriation.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Number 3.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Motion to adopt a resolution entitled Resolution Establishing Referendum on Proposed Fire Truck Acquisitions Project Bond Ordinance.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Number 4.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Motion to adopt a resolution entitled Resolution Authorizing Expenditures for Conduct of Referendum on Proposed Fire Truck Acquisitions Project Bond Ordinance.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Number 6.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Motion to adopt a resolution entitled Resolution Authorizing Preparation, Printing, and Distribution of Explanatory Text for Proposed Fire Truck Acquisitions Project Bond Ordinance.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay,
Madam Chair?
we have a few more here.
Yep. Motion to appoint the firm of Boom Shapiro to conduct an audit for the town of Plainville for the 2018 fiscal year.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Madam
Anybody
Chair?
else want to say something tonight?
Madam Chair? Okay, I'll have a break here.
Okay.
Motion to adopt a resolution entitled Resolution Authorizing a Grant Agreement to Obtain Clean Water Fund Financing for Water Pollution Abatement Facilities.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Number 8.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Motion to adopt a resolution entitled Resolution Approving a Loan Agreement to Obtain Clean Water Fund Financing for Water Pollution Abatement Facilities.
Second.
A motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Number 10.
No, number 9.
Number 9.
Whoops, sorry.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Okay, a motion to award RFP number 2018-11, Plan of Conservation and Development Preparation, to Planometrics, Simsbury, Connecticut, and authorize the town manager to execute an agreement for professional services in the amount of $50,000.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Yes, Madam Chair?
Yes.
Although the town manager highlighted it in his report, I would just like to highlight again that we are actually going to be paying less for the development of this 10-year plan than we did 10 years
Yes.
ago, a significant amount by virtue of the fact that the staff is going to be doing quite a bit of the project. I know I reviewed the whole scope of the work and the timeline, and it's going to be a very interesting process.
Yeah, we have a great team. We're happy we're going to be able to do that. Any other comment? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay,
Madam Chair?
yes.
Motion to accept the donation of a portion of land adjacent to Norton Park owned by Buck Fever LLC consisting of 5.24 plus or minus acres as proposed on KJA file number 215-067, drawing number 1, last revised 2/12/18.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Motion to abandon a portion of Corporate Avenue is proposed on the abandonment map dated March 9th, 2018, effective date December 31st, 2018.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Madam Chair?
Number 12.
Madam Chair, motion to approve the tax refunds is listed on the agenda.
Second.
I have to not vote on this because I am getting a refund on this list. However, if I don't vote, then there'll only be 4 positive votes up here. So should we hold off until the next meeting when we have a full group.
Pull yours out if you like, and then approve the rest of them.
Okay, that sounds good.
So I'd
Approve
like,
everybody but Bob's.
okay. I'd like to make an amendment to my motion to
Yes.
approve the revised tax refunds minus
Puglisi.
Puglisi.
Second.
The two Puglisi refunds.
Okay, so you put a revised.
Revised.
So, voting on the revised motion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Now, we'll vote on the motion itself. Oh, that was it.
That was it.
That'll be
It was
good.
a revised motion, minus you guys.
All right,
Okay.
okay. Thank you. Robert, do you have any other discussions of interest that you have for us tonight?
I do not. Thank you.
Okay,
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
all right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.